So section P5, part 1, these are your study problems. Just I want to make it clear that times 5, this right here means multiples of 5. You will probably be having a quiz either, I'm going to say Monday or Tuesday, and I believe it's also going to be a take-home quiz. I'll just make sure to give you a little bit more time for internet issues and uploading issues. Okay, first step, we're going to actually solve this inequality. Straightforward, this is still algebra 1, math 1, sorry, not algebra 1. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. Cancel that out, get them a 0. Is greater than 13. Divide both sides by 3. And I get that x is greater than 13/3. Okay, the next question is the absolute value of 3x minus 5 is greater than 8. When you have an absolute value, you split it up into two parts. You have your positive part, which is going to be 3x minus 5 is greater than 8. And you have your negative part, which means you're going to multiply whatever's inside of your absolute value times of negative. Okay. If I solve this one, it's just going to be plus 5, just like we did on the previous one. And you're going to get 3x is equal to 13. Divide both sides, not equals. My bad, sorry guys. Is greater than 13. And you already know it's going to be x is greater than 13/3, just like we did in the previous spots. Now, this negative you will distribute it is a -1. And now you have negative 3x plus 5 is greater than 8. Subtract the 5 from both sides. Negative 3x is greater than 3. Divide both sides by a -3. And when we divide both sides by a negative or multiply both sides by a negative, you need to switch the actual greater than less than symbol. So now it becomes x is less than -1. So these would be your answers for that absolute value function. Okay, if you notice, now we have a equation that has, or not an equality, sorry, that has fractions in it. I suggest you make everything look like a fraction, just put a 1 under it. And you're going to identify your lowest common denominator by looking at your denominators. Remember, your lowest common denominator is the bigger number or a number bigger than that one. I think it's 4, and I'm going to check. That means 2 and 1 divide evenly into 4. Yes, 2 goes into 4 evenly, 1 goes into 4 evenly. That means my lowest common denominator is 4. I will multiply every single piece of my inequality times 4. And I'm going to reduce. This goes to be 2. That would be 10x. 1 doesn't go. That's to be 4 times 7. That is 28. Is greater than, the 4 is reduced to a 1, so that means -3. 1 doesn't reduce, so we have 4 times 9 is 36. So now we have plus 36. And now we have a nice simple multiple step equation that we could solve. So now we're going to have plus 3x to the other side. Now we have 13x minus 28 is greater than 36. Add the 28 to both sides. You have 13x is greater than 64. Divide both sides by 13. And you're going to get that x is greater than 64 and over 13. Now we have to graph it, and it's going to be a graph just on a number line. It's going to be a simple graph. I have already graphed it under the little gray box, so I'm just going to take the little gray box off. And I want you to see that I have an little parentheses there. In math 1, parentheses mean open circle. That means it's not part of my answer. That means it could be this symbol or that symbol. If you have brackets, aka closed circle, that means it's part of the answer. That means less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, either or. These are your symbols. Okay. Since we have a x is greater than, we know it's either an open circle or the parentheses. And since it says it's x is greater, that means all the numbers that are greater than 64/3 it has to be a simple thing. I just make I'm going to say 64/3 is like right here at this point. I write it down, make that it's an open circle. Either you could put an open circle or the parentheses, and then just my line going that way. And then you're done. For this equation, we are going to simplify. This is a compound inequality. So we're going to have -5 is less than 2. We're going to distribute that negative in there. And we're going to have negative x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 6. We're going to simplify our inside part. And we're going to have -5 is less than negative x minus 3 less than 6. Okay, once you get here, whatever you do to the middle part of your inequality, your compound inequality, you're going to do it to the left and you're going to do it to the right of the inequality. So I'm going to add 3 to the middle to get rid of it. That means I have to add it to the left side and to the right side to balance my compound inequality. Now I'm going to have -2 is less than negative x, less than or equal to 9. I need to have that my middle term, my variable, is positive, so I'm going to divide it by -1. And whatever I do in the middle, I do to the left, I do to the right. And we all know that when we divide or multiply by a negative, the inequality symbols change. So this becomes 2. The inequality now changes direction. And now we have x. That changes direction. And we have -9. Okay. That kind of looks weird because you're in a number line. You have the larger number on the left side and on the right side. So I suggest you actually write it down so it makes sense. You're going to have -9, x, and the 2. If you notice right here, this says that 2 is bigger than x. That means right here, x is less than that. It is opening up to the 2. This one should be opening up to the 2. On this one right here, it says x is greater than or equal to -9. So now x has to be greater. So now we're going to have greater than or equal to. This is the function that will be easy to graph on a number line. Very straightforward. I'm going to just make a really quick graph of it. So you make your line. I'm going to say -9 is right here. 0 is right here. 2 is right there. This right here reads that -9 is less than or equal to x. So I know that it is less than or equal to. Equal to means parentheses, and it's less than. So I know it's going to go that way. And then this piece right here reads x is less than 2. So now, but not equal. So that means I have an open parentheses there, and all the numbers that are less than 2 are going that way. That means all my answers are located right here. These are all my answers. That includes whole numbers, decimals, fractions, whatever you want. Everything in there is part of my answer. The -9 is part of my answer, but the 2 isn't. It's just like a stopping point, like a boundary. Another way that some students actually write this down, they also could go a closed circle that way, and then open circle there. That's also a way you could do it. Okay, again, since we have an absolute value, we know we're going to have 2 answers. So we're going to split it up. We're going to have our positive answer, 2x minus 8 minus 5 is greater than 4. And we're going to have our negative answer. We're going to have negative times 2x minus 8 minus 5 is greater than 4. The only thing that is being multiplied by negative is the stuff that is inside of your absolute value. I do not multiply that by a negative. Only this piece changes, and that's it. Okay, so I'm going to solve my first equation. I'm going to combine my like terms. I get it 2x minus 13 is greater than 4. Add the 13 to the other side. I'm going to get 2x is greater than 17. Divide both sides by 2, and I get 17/2. That is an answer. Then I'm going to do my negative solution. So we're going to have -2x, positive 8, minus 5 is greater than 4. Combine my like terms. I have -2x plus 3 is greater than 4. Subtract the 3 from both sides, and I should get 1. divide both sides by a -2, and I'm going to get x is less than -1/2 because I'm dividing both sides by negative. My inequality symbol changes. Now if I graph it, we're going to have, I'm going to do a simple graph. There's my line. I know that -1/2 is over here, and I know 17/2 should be somewhere over here. And they're both not part of the answer. So let's just say these are both not part of the answer. So I'm going to have a parentheses somewhere there. And it says for the x, it says x is less than -1/2. So all the numbers are less than 1/2 are this way. All the numbers that are x is greater than 17/2. And all those numbers that are greater than 17/2 would be going to the right side. So this would be my actual graph of the solution. So all my answers are located to the left of -1/2, and all my answers are located to the right of 1/2. Anything in the middle is not part of my answer. It will not make this a true statement.